Are you state raised? Are you a correctional officer or a convict guard? Hi, I'm Gary York, True Prison Stories. Please subscribe if you like this video. Hey folks, there's a thing, especially down here in the South. I don't know how much they use it across the country. Let us know if you do use it or if you've heard of it. It's called being state raised. And I don't mean just working in a state prison. You know, I got out of the military and I went to work at the state prison. I'm not state raised. I worked at a state prison. What is state raised? Well, you know, there's a lot of smaller communities throughout the United States that have third and fourth generations working in corrections. And not only working in corrections, but they grew up in housing on state property next to the prison. They were born into the prison life, you know, kids playing and inmates outside mowing the yards and things. Of course, they were watched by correctional officers, or are watched by correctional officers, because we still have state housing. How many of you live in state housing? And right on the prison property. You go to work in the prison, you leave the prison, and you stay on the state property, and you live there. And your family grows up there. That's what I'm talking about with state raised. And that is on the correctional officer side. Being born into corrections. We have another group that likes to use the word state raised. And yes, that's inmates, convicts, whatever you want to call them. I've heard them for years talk about, I'm state raised. And, you know, you look at them and say, well, yeah, you're in the state prison and you've been here since you were a kid. You're definitely state raised. And the place I hear that the most, however, is when I left the state prison system and went to work in the county jail. All you folks in the county jail, I know a lot of you have heard this. Inmates get transferred from state prison back to the jail for new charges, for appeals, trying to get their conviction overturned. So yes, they're back at the county jail now, and we had a separate housing unit for state inmates. And I remember going in there, and I'd worked in the prison system for, you know, almost 17 years before I switched to the county, and they don't know that. And I'm walking around, and I tell an inmate to do something, and he looks at me and goes, I'm state raised. And I looked at him and said, well, that's just great. You're still going to do what I tell you to do. State raised, county raised, I don't care how you're raised. What the inmate was trying to do is put a boo game on me, let me know he's from the state prison and I'm a county jail guy, and you're gonna be the tough inmate, state raised. Later on, I was recognized, because we all know how the inmates are. They go from jail to prison, jail to prison. And when that happened another day with another inmate, I'm state raised. Another inmate had recognized me from working at state prison. He goes, well, he is too. He is too. Boss man is state raised. He came from the state too. And then they realized that I came from the state. And it's funny how they act different. Does anybody ever have that experience? Moving from the state prison system to the county jail, and once the inmates find out you were a state correctional officer, they seem to act different. I don't want to say more respect, because they need to give everybody the same respect, but there's something about a state inmate in a county jail seems to listen to a former state correctional officer better. Although it doesn't matter, we're going to make them listen to everybody. You know, same in the Army. I was a military policeman. We had Reforger in Germany, and the airborne troops came over. They brought airborne military police with them. So our patrol car was me, a regular foot military policeman called a leg, and the airborne MP was my patrol partner. Of course, I was driving, because they're not familiar with our patrol areas in Germany. Why did that happen during Reforger? Because if we came up on a group of airborne soldiers acting up, the airborne MP would go talk to them. Because they had more respect for the airborne MP. Just face facts. if we came up on infantry soldiers or the regular soldiers stationed in Germany that were not airborne, I would take the lead. Isn't that funny how that happens? And I'm comparing that to inmates in a jail from the state prison responding to I'm a former state prison officer or a detention deputy. It doesn't matter, folks. I should listen to everything. But, life is life. Humanism is humanism. The human brain works in peculiar ways and many ways, folks. So whatever works, works. Use it to your advantage. If it's working for you, use it. But I thought I'd talk about the term state-raised today because it covers two areas. It covers state-raised correctional officers, as I mentioned earlier, generation after generation. Not implants like when I got out of the military and became a state officer. I'm talking state-raised. And proud of it for those folks. And we appreciate their families' service to corrections. I think it's great to see generation after generation. Is that a fading thing, by the way? I'd like to hear your thoughts on that. And then the other, turn the coin over, and the inmates who love to use that term, state-raised. Just some food for thought today, state-raised. This is Gary York, True Prison Stories. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe.